I never thought I'd be standing here, in the center of this whirlwind, surrounded by flashing lights and voices calling my name. The crowd is deafening, and yet, in that moment, everything falls silent. It's as if the universe has paused for me to process what I'm witnessing. It's been years since I first met him, Suga, the quiet genius behind the booming success of BTS. But this moment right here was something that no one saw coming. The room is dim, and I can feel the cold air of the studio against my skin. The hum of machinery and the soft click of keys on the laptop are all that fills the space. Yoongi is at his desk, headphones on, surrounded by a sea of soundtracks, beats, and half-finished compositions. He's lost in it, his expression intense. The clock ticks by unnoticed as he adjusts a sound, rewinds a few seconds of the track, and then nods, satisfied. I can almost hear his thoughts. Is this the sound that will change everything? It's been a long road for him to get here, a journey not just through the ranks of K-pop, but through the labyrinth of his own fears, insecurities, and dreams. No one, except maybe his closest friends, knew the struggles he faced to get to this point, both as a member of BTS and as a producer. But now, as a solo artist, his touch on every piece of music he's involved with has become undeniable. But before any of this, before the fame, the endless concerts, the millions of fans, there was the Yoongi we didn't see. The trainee struggling to find his identity in a world that felt foreign to him. The rapper trying to make his voice heard among a sea of loud, passionate competitors. His heart wasn't just set on being an idol, it was set on making music that mattered. Music that could transcend borders, defy expectations, and tell his truth. It's hard to imagine now, given his overwhelming success, but there was a time when Suga almost didn't make it. The big hit entertainment offices felt like another world to him. He had joined as a trainee, eager yet unsure, thrown into an ocean of other hopefuls, all swimming for the same dream. I remember Yoongi telling me about the first time he walked into that practice room. The lights were harsh, the air was thick with the scent of sweat and new beginnings, and the sound of voices all blending into one indistinguishable noise. It was overwhelming, but even then, he never showed it. He kept his head down, practiced, and worked on his craft. He wasn't the brightest star in the room, but his determination to make something of himself was unshakable. He had a goal. Becoming a successful rapper was only the beginning. The real dream, I think, was creating something that could outlast his time as a trainee, something he could be proud of, no matter what. Yoongi's journey as a producer didn't start with a grand revelation. There was no magic moment when he realized he was meant to create music for others. It was much quieter, more introspective. The beats, the melodies, they began as a form of escape. I can still hear him describing how, after a long day of training and rehearsals, he would retreat into the world of sound. It wasn't just a hobby for him, it was his therapy. Each beat, each rhythm was a way to process the frustrations, the anger, and the confusion that came with being thrust into the spotlight. I remember the first time I heard one of his tracks, before it was a BTS song, before anyone had heard it. It was raw, unfiltered, and yet it had this depth to it that grabbed me by the heart. There was something in the music that told me, this is where Yoongi is going. He had something to say that no one else was saying. His ability to craft a sound that wasn't just popular, but deeply emotional, was becoming clear. And slowly his production started to shape not only his career, but also the sound of BTS itself. Joining BTS was, without a doubt, a turning point for Yoongi. It wasn't just about the spotlight. It wasn't just about the fame. It was about creating something bigger than himself. It was about collaboration, about blending his vision with the talents of the other members, and about creating music that would connect with millions of people worldwide. But even as part of BTS, Suga's identity as a producer continued to grow. Each BTS album wasn't just a collection of songs. It was a representation of his evolving artistry. From Too Cool for School to The Most Beautiful Moment in Life to Wings and beyond, Suga's signature sound began to take shape. His fingerprints were all over BTS's tracks, but it wasn't until Love Yourself and Map of the Soul that he truly began to cement himself as a producer capable of creating music that resonated on a universal scale. I remember the first time he played me Mic Drop. His eyes were intense, as if he knew he had something big on his hands. The beat hit hard, the bass rumbled through the speakers, and I couldn't help but smile. I could feel the sweat and effort that had gone into this, the months of work that had led to this single moment. He wasn't just making music, he was creating a cultural shift. But Suga's journey didn't stop there. Over time, as BTS's popularity skyrocketed, so did his influence. His role as a producer began to inspire not just other artists, but also fans around the world who were listening to his music and hearing their own struggles reflected in his lyrics. It wasn't just about the sound, it was about the emotions, the stories he wove through every note, every word. What's even more incredible is how Suga's influence extended beyond BTS. Artists from all over the world started turning to him for inspiration. They didn't just want to work with Suga because of his fame. They sought him out because he had proven, time and again, that he could capture raw emotion in its purest form. Whether it was with artists like Halsey on Boy With Love, or his own solo projects, such as his album D2, Suga's sound was evolving, and with it, his reach. I still remember hearing how he collaborated with various artists on different projects. His willingness to experiment, to push boundaries and explore different genres, was what made him such a sought-after producer. It wasn't just his technical skills, it was his ability to capture the essence of what each artist needed and make it uniquely their own. And that's when the world took notice. The music industry was no longer just looking at K-pop as a passing trend. They were looking at it as a force to be reckoned with. And at the heart of it all, in the studio, behind the scenes, was Yoongi. The quiet, introspective producer who had started as a young boy in a small town with a dream to make something of himself, had now transformed into a global music icon. His music was no longer just a reflection of his personal struggles. It became a mirror for the struggles of millions of people around the world. It was about identity, overcoming challenges, finding hope, and expressing vulnerability. Suga had become the voice of a generation. And then, just when it seemed like Suga had reached the pinnacle of his career, something unexpected happened. Yoongi disappeared. No, not in the literal sense, but the Suga we had all come to know, the prodigious, powerhouse producer, stepped back from the limelight. He took a hiatus from music, a break that no one saw coming. Some called it a crisis, others called it a reinvention. But for Yoongi, it was necessary. He had poured everything into his work, given it his all, and for the first time in years, he needed to reconnect with himself. Away from the cameras, away from the spotlight, he started writing again, not for BTS, not for anyone else, just for him. When he finally came back with August D's second mixtape, the world was shocked. The music was rawer, more honest, and more vulnerable than anything he'd released before. It was as if he was no longer bound by the pressures of success. He had learned to navigate his own battles, and now he was sharing that journey with the world in the most profound way possible. In the end, Suga had not just created a new sound for himself or BTS, he had reshaped the music industry. His journey from trainee to producer had been full of obstacles, but it was through those struggles that he had found his true voice. Today, as a producer, Suga continues to inspire not just artists, but anyone who has ever faced the battle of self-doubt, the weight of expectation, or the need to find a purpose in a chaotic world. His story, is a testament to the power of perseverance, vulnerability, and the belief that art can change lives. Suga has not just been an idol, he has been a guide, a mentor, and a revolutionizer of sound. And for those of us who have followed him from the beginning, we know this. Suga's journey is far from over. The story of his life, filled with twists, turns, and moments of sheer brilliance, will continue to inspire for generations to come.